In this demonstration, I'm going to be showing you how to use the GoTRAX app along with how to interpret the data that it collects from the Geo tab. So first I'm going to open up GoTRAX and I see all these devices along here. I also see a map. I can zoom in and out using my mouse. I can drag it around. I can also change the view if I'd like. I can change it to satellite, or I'm just going to keep it on map for now. I'm going to click on this device. I want to see what they're doing right now. So as you can see, if I scroll over the device, I can see when the power is on. I can also scroll in on stops and see how long they were stopped for. If I scroll over any part of their path from today, I can see what time they crossed that point and how fast they were going. I can also see, because I have one device selected, I can see their street view right now. I'm just going to get rid of that. And then if I go on any part of their path and I click on it, I have a few options here. Most of these options come with ZenduCAM, so we're going to cover them in the ZenduCAM video. But the option that's always here is Street View. So this will give you the Street View at that point in time where I clicked. And then we can also export any data that's available on any of these pages under Asset Map with Excel, or we can just print off the page. I also have the option to click the time frame of what I want to see. This option is also available within Asset Map tab. So I'm just going to click on trips now, and as you can see, we're still under the same user, the same device, and this gives me a history of their trips within this time frame. So I can see how long they were stopped for, I can see how long they were driving for, the distance that they drove. If I click on any one of these trips, I can see the path of their trip. As you can see, again, I can see how fast they were going, when they were there. If I click on here, I have all these options, especially Street View at that point in time, and I can look at when they stopped and how long they were stopped for. If I go under exceptions, now I don't see any exceptions under here right now for this time frame, so I'm just going to go back to last month. And these are all the exceptions that the device picked up. All of these exceptions can be set with rules in the settings tab, so we will talk about that later on in this video. As you can see, these all have a description, evolution speeding. These are all for the same rule exception. And it will tell me how long they were breaking that rule for. It also, because right now this is for ZenduCAM, it gives me the option to download the video that it recorded. Like I said, we can go over this in the ZenduCAM video, but with all exceptions tabs, it gives me the option to dismiss an exception. If I've decided that I've already dealt with that, I can also show whichever exceptions I've already dismissed. So as you can see, this exception was already dismissed. If I say hi dismissed, it goes. And if I click on any of these exceptions, it shows me exactly where the rule was broken. So again, I can see all the information, how fast they were going at any point in time on their trip, and I can also see the street view if I click on it. We also have a ZenduCAM tab here, and like I said, I'm going to cover that in the ZenduCAM video because this is more of a general GoTRAX tutorial. So we're going to move on to reports. Now, reports is a tab that is general, so it's not just for one user now. This is for all users. And I can see the current status of any of our connected devices. None of them are turned on, so that's why all of these columns are left blank. But you can see the last communication of any of the devices, the last location transmittance of any of these devices. Again, I can also choose the time frame, Excel, or print it. If I go under trips, as you can see, this is the recent history of all of my trips that all of my devices have taken. These are all within this time span like before. It gives me the start and stop time of each of these trips, how long the devices were stopped for during these trips, how far the devices went, and so on. Now if I go to exceptions, like before, this is a summary of all the exceptions that all of my devices have collected within this time frame. It gives me a start and stop time, it gives me a duration of the exception, and again, it gives me the option to dismiss any of these exceptions. I can dismiss all of them at once if I'd like to, and I can show dismissed. So none of these have been dismissed. And now if I move on to settings. Now in settings, this is where you set everything up. Under devices, this will be all of your connected devices. This could be the Lone Defender, this could be ZenduCAM, any of these devices. For each device, you can choose a driver that is set up under the User tab down here. We will talk about that in a few minutes. You can also pick a group for any of these devices, and the groups, like users, can be set up down here. We'll talk about that in a bit. And if there's any related serial number for the device, it will be listed under here. That will be configured when you first set up this system. So if I go down to the report scheduler, I can schedule any type of report, either a report of trips or a report of exceptions. I can pick the frequency, daily, weekly, monthly. I can also pick when I want to start receiving these reports. I can also pick a scheduled time for these reports. I can also pick the groups that these reports apply to. I can also choose which emails I have it sent to by putting the emails in here. And I can choose to send the email now if I'd like to, just to get it started off, and save any changes that you make, and I can also delete any reports if I'd rather not have them anymore. Under the Users tab, this is where I can add any user, so I can add the email, all of this information here, pretty self-explanatory. I can choose whether I want someone to be an admin or a user. I can give them an ID number for if they're using a lone defender. I can choose the unit of measurement, whether I want it metric or imperial, and I can also click whether they're a driver or not. And this is where you get to pick what group they're in. Again, groups will be set up down here. And now down to groups. So these groups are, again, initialized when you first set up the system with our support. But what we can do here is we can choose what icon represents this group, and then go down to rules. Now this is what we were talking about before. If I want to add a rule, I can pick what type of rule. So I could have a rule that's based off of lone defender data. I can make a rule based off of ZenduCAM data, or I can do it off of GoTRAX or GeoTab data. I'm just going to go with GeoTab here. And with any rule, if they require a certain parameter, so for instance, stopped more than, I can choose the duration, battery level less than, I can choose the battery level. So all of these parameter options will show up with the rule depending on if they need them or not. I can also give this rule a name, and I can choose who I want to alert. So if I want the driver to know about it, I want to text the driver, and I want to call the driver when this happens. And this will be under all groups, not just one kind of group. And then I can add escalations. This we will go more over in the lone defender video. And I can also add a custom message, and I can just add that in there. And yeah, that's a basic overview of GoTRAX.